For more than half a century, Pastor Pat Robertson stood as one of the most influential figures in American Christianity. As the founder of the 700 Club and the Christian Broadcasting Network, CBN, he brought faith into millions of homes. What started as a small local TV station in Virginia grew into a global media powerhouse, all driven by his vision to spread the gospel through television. Robertson's passion was undeniable, and so was his influence. But behind the sermons and the smiles was a man burdened with deep reflection in his final years, and what he later revealed before his passing left many believers stunned. Pat Robertson wasn't born into the televangelist world. His journey began with humble roots. Born Marion Gordon Robertson in 1930, he was raised in a political family, the son of a U.S. senator. Yet his early life was far from pious. As a young man, he chased worldly success, attending Yale Law School and dreaming of a political career. It wasn't until a spiritual awakening in his late 20s that everything changed. He abandoned his ambitions, sold his belongings, and set out to build a small Christian station. Those who knew him back then said he often spoke of a divine calling, one that would eventually shape his life and the future of religious media. In 1960, with little more than a few $100s and unshakable faith, Robertson purchased a UHF station in Portsmouth, Virginia. It was here that CBN was born, the first Christian television network in America. He worked tirelessly, often sleeping on the studio floor and asking viewers to send in $1 a month to keep the lights on. That message of community and shared belief struck a chord. Soon, the 700 Club became one of the most watched Christian programs in the world. Yet with fame came scrutiny, and Robertson's rise wasn't without controversy. Behind the scenes, he wrestled with the pressures of leading both a ministry and a media empire. By the 1880s, Robertson had moved beyond preaching. He had become a voice in American politics, rallying Christians to take part in shaping the nation's future. His 1988 presidential campaign shocked many, a televangelist running for the highest office in the land. Though he didn't win, his message ignited a movement that would redefine the relationship between faith and politics in America. Yet as his influence grew, so did the criticism. Many accused him of blurring the line between religion and power. Those close to him later revealed that in private, he questioned whether his political ambitions had distracted him from his original mission to serve God first.
Throughout his career, Robertson was never afraid to speak his mind, sometimes to his own detriment. From world events to social issues, he often made statements that sparked outrage and debate. While some saw him as a prophet of truth, others viewed him as a polarizing figure. Behind the scenes, friends say Robertson was deeply aware of how his words could wound. In his later years, he reportedly expressed regret over comments that caused division, saying he wished he'd listened more and spoken less. That humility, seldom seen publicly, became part of the private confession he would later make before his death. Beyond the camera and controversy, Pat Robertson was a devoted husband and father. His marriage to Dee Robertson lasted over 60 years until her passing in 2022. Together, they raised 4 children and built a life centered around faith, family, and service. Those who knew them say their love was quiet but unbreakable, sustained through challenges few could imagine. After Dee's death, Pat's health began to decline, and those close to him noticed a shift. He became softer, more reflective, and often spoke of longing to see her again. It was during this time that he began sharing his deepest thoughts about life, forgiveness, and the meaning of legacy. While his public image projected strength and certainty, those closest to Robertson knew he carried private burdens. In interviews near the end of his life, he admitted to moments of doubt, times when he wondered if he had done enough to truly serve God. He reflected on the pressures of fame, the criticism that often followed him, and the emotional cost of leadership. "You can build great things," he once said quietly, "and still feel empty if you forget why you started." That honesty revealed a man who, despite his immense success, was still searching for peace. His confessions showed a vulnerability that humanized one of Christianity's most towering figures. In one of his last recorded interviews, Pat Robertson made a statement that took many by surprise. With his voice frail but firm, he said, "If I could go back, I'd spend less time trying to build an empire and more time simply loving people." It was a moment of raw humility from a man who had built one of the largest faith-based networks in history. He continued, "I wanted to show God's power to the world, but sometimes I forgot to show His heart." Those words, spoken just months before his death, struck deeply with those who had followed him for decades. It was the confession of a man coming to terms with his humanity. In his last months, Robertson spent most of his time surrounded by family and close friends at his Virginia Beach home. Though frail, he remained engaged, often praying with his grandchildren and revisiting old sermons and writings. Those who visited him described him as peaceful, ready, and filled with gratitude. He no longer spoke of power or influence, but of grace and forgiveness. He smiled more in his last days than he had in years, one family friend said. It was like he finally found rest. On June 8, 2023, Pat Robertson passed away peacefully at the age of 93, leaving behind a legacy that continues to spark conversation and reflection. News of Robertson's passing spread quickly, drawing emotional reactions from both supporters and critics. Political leaders, pastors, and celebrities all paid tribute to his impact. Even those who disagreed with him acknowledged his influence. "You couldn't ignore Pat Robertson," one journalist wrote. "He changed how America talked about faith." Former colleagues remembered his humor, his relentless drive, and his unwavering belief in the power of prayer. As tributes poured in, it became clear that regardless of one's beliefs, Robertson had left an indelible mark on the world stage, a man who had lived boldly, loved deeply, and in the end, learned humility. Today, Pat Robertson's legacy lives through the Christian Broadcasting Network, Regent University, and the millions who found faith through his words. His children continue his mission of ministry and education, expanding his vision into new generations. Yet, it's his final confession that resonates the loudest. His acknowledgement that love, not influence, was the true measure of a life well lived has become a guiding message for many. For those who admired him, it was a powerful reminder that even the strongest leaders are still human, capable of mistakes, growth, and redemption. In the end, Pat Robertson's story is not just one of success or controversy, it's one of faith, reflection, and grace. He began as a man chasing ambition and ended as one seeking peace with God. His final words were not of pride, but of humility. "All I ever wanted was to please Him, and I hope I did." That simple confession summed up a lifetime of triumphs, trials, and transformation. Whether loved or criticized, Pat Robertson's influence cannot be denied. His voice may be gone, but his message, to live with purpose, forgive freely, and loved deeply, continues to echo in the hearts of millions who watched him for generations.